Looked like it was 10 years ago, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good picture. Good morning, everybody. Tracy Bogert, Clint Proctor, Anthony Del Toro on a Throwback Thursday. Shannon, I hope you don't mind. I went pilfering through your Facebook photos this morning to find a throwback photo. It's a very cool photo. And I left your puppy out of it so as not to bring you down.
That is a senior year of high school photo shoot picture.
Nice. It's a great looking photo. It looks like a professional photo. Was that a professional photographer?
Yeah, haven't done a photo shoot since.
Well, it's about time.
If anyone needs headshots, that's where I go to 10 years ago.
Steve Duraco, good morning. Luisa Alanis, Hector Gomez, Taro Kotani, the greatest international Spurs fan. Clint Proctor, Tracy Bogert, the Bear County chairman of the MAGA Republican QAnon believer and coronavirus deniers. Welcome in. Here we go. Look at my t-shirt, Steve.
Duel.
Oh my God. These are what I call, these are what you should call the dark ages. The dark ages of sports have begun. The dark ages of sports began at about 9:20 last night for me. It's the Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. In a moment, we'll introduce our St. Louis Cardinals t-shirt bedecked soundscape stylist, Super Dave Ayler. But Shannon, first of all, good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing all right.
And I love it. You're wearing a Dallas Cowboys hoodie.
Yeah, I don't have a Mavericks one, so.
But still, it's my graphic on Facebook Live, because the basketball season ended for me last night, says, is it football season yet? And I'm now, I felt this way since like the 70s, Shannon. When the Spurs season ends, it is the dark ages of sports for me until football season. Now, yeah, we're going to have the NBA finals. Spurs won't be in it. Yeah, Indy 500. Yeah, PGA Championship starts today. You know, sometimes you get Summer Olympics. We might get that this summer. But, you know, for me, the sport is NFL football and college football. And then second to that has always been Spurs, NBA, previously ABA, basketball. And last night, Shannon, I admit it, I was wrong. I had a good feeling last night. I picked the Spurs to win. I said Spurs in one. Not a good idea to give up a 21-point deficit in the first quarter. Yeah.
That's my biggest question to you today, because I actually watched the movie you recommended last night.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I mean it was. I like that it was an hour and a half. Like that's a good, I feel like, movie time.
Yes.
Me these days. But I'm watching the score of the Spurs game and keeping up with that on my phone, and I see this giant gap very early on. They obviously close it, and then they end the game within 4, which is, of course, is what Vegas said.
Crazy.
The difference would be there.
Yeah.
But as a fan, would you rather see them go out like that, or I mean, because they came back fighting
and they took the lead with 7:05 to play. They took a. So I mean, they. You know, somebody said on Spurs React last night to us, you know, well, this game was over in the first quarter. And I said, well, if that's true, the Spurs came back to take the lead with 7:05 to play. But obviously, it takes a lot of gas to come from 21 down. Mm-hmm. You know, Bill Schoening, our good friend who was with us yesterday on the show, he was talking with assistant coach Becky Hammond after the game on the post game. And oh, by the way, who knows what Becky Hammond's future might hold? I'm just saying. But Becky Hammond said, I was so proud of these guys tonight. So I'm going to defer to her on that. Yes, the 21-point deficit was god-awful. They could have folded up shop and said, we're dead. We're in the grindhouse. This is Memphis's night. We suck.
Tebow tomorrow.
Yeah, and DeMar DeRozan, whom I love. I mean, he at one point he was like 2 out of 14.
Yeah, he struggled
in the fourth. He started hitting a few. I mean, what I do love about this team, and we saw it a lot throughout the year, and they were often outgunned. They did not give up. They fought. They brought it. There was no, all right, woe is us, or, let's start making plans for golf. It was like, we're going to fight to the bitter end. And they did. And just one other thing that assistant coach Becky Hammond cited, and it's true. And she first prefaced it by saying, we make no excuses, but that like 42 games in 60 nights with no 2 nights off ever and multiple back-to-backs, including back-to-backs on the road. I mean, I'm just a radio guy, Shannon, and this Spurs second half exhausted me. And I didn't like Bill. Bill said this as well yesterday. Bill's not out there playing on the court. Bill does a lot more heavy lifting on the radio broadcast than I do. But I mean, it exhausted me. These guys are professional athletes traveling around the country playing these basketball games. So it was a brutal second half. But the one other thing Becky said, never a complaint from any of the Spurs. It's like, yep, we're going to work. We're going to go play. Who we playing today? And sadly, the season ends last night.
I would think after last year and the moments of, are we even going to get to finish the season, that as the athletes they are that are competitive and just want to play it, we're very happy to even get the 72-game season. Didn't obviously end up how they wanted it to, but Spurs fans, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Golden State Warriors are going to knock out the Grizzlies, so they won't be in your face about it for too long.
Probably, yes.
I mean, if Steph Curry plays like he did last night,
and I stayed up for it last night, Shannon, in that fourth quarter. I mean, he and LeBron trading bucket for bucket, and I have another sign up on Facebook Live. LeBron is still the king. Yes. Oh, God, yes.
Everyone's talking about that shot.
God,
yes.
Yeah,
the shot clock was down, but there was still a minute left in the game.
Well, and oh, by the way, that shot happened like 3 minutes after Draymond Green slapped him and poked him in the eyes. There was a flagrant.
When he was rolling around on the ground.
Yes.
For no reason. Space Jam
no reason.
Oscar worthy.
No, he's going to the basket. Draymond Green with his full gigantic hand whacks LeBron hard in the face. Fingers going into his eyes. His eyes.
I would too if the refs allowed LeBron to have a do-over on an inbounds pass.
God.
That he just tipped in and then a Warriors player was going to jump on it and the refs blew the whistle. Do-over. LeBron needs another chance.
I hate Draymond Green. I think it's true. There's no one I hate more in the NBA. And again, for people, it's sports hate.
Up as a spurt?
Some people go, hey, man, it's not good to hate. Why do you hate? Hating is it's sports hate. All right. If Draymond Green was lying in the street after getting hit by a car, yes, I would render aid. I'd help him out, take him to a hospital, call night. So no, I really, really sports hate Draymond Green. I'm trying to think, do I hate anybody more in the NFL? I don't think so. Do I hate anybody more in baseball? Mike Fiers, that snitch, dirtbag, scumbag. Snitches swim with the fishes, Mike Fiers. So maybe Mike Fiers.
You cool with Robert Kraft?
He never
like a piece of you that's like.
Well, he never did anything to me. But no, here's what. And I'm not cool with Robert Kraft because that massage parlor in Florida, reportedly, those young women were Chinese nationals who were effectively being held in slavery. So that's huge. So you're right. And actually, if we're going to be completely honest here, human trafficking. And a multi-billionaire participating in human trafficking, allegedly, reportedly, is probably worse than Draymond Green kicking other professional athletes in the nether regions. So, okay, touche. You got me on Robert Kraft. Johnny Bench was just a jerk to me after he was a childhood hero. He was my favorite baseball player. And the quick story, and I heard him on Dan Patrick yesterday. The quick story, Shannon, I won't belabor this. We got a contest coming up. But in 1982 National League Championship Series, LA Dodgers versus St. Louis Cardinals, I'm at a hotel, the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown LA. It's emblazoned in my memory. And a friend of mine, Tim Griffin, we see Johnny Bench in the bar area. And he goes, "It's Johnny Bench. It's your favorite player. Go say hi. Go shake his hand." No, because I don't like to bother people. No. And he's pushing me. Come, this is your moment. John, you've been telling me you love Johnny Bench. And so he pushes me. I go up to Johnny Bench. I go, "Johnny, Chris Duel, I'm from San Antonio. You're my favorite baseball player. In fact, when you played your final series, it was on the road against the Houston Astros. I flew from Los Angeles to Houston to see those 3 games in the Houston Astrodome. Just wanted to say hello." And I put my hand out to shake his hand. He looked at my hand. He looked me in the eyes and he said, "So?" And I was crushed. I was 22 years old. This was my baseball hero. I was crushed.
Can't be like that.
I was crushed. And then my wife is from Cincinnati, and I told her that story. She goes, "Oh, yeah, everybody in Cincinnati knows Johnny's kind of a jerk." So, yeah.
If you had known that beforehand, would he still hold a high place in your heart? You just would have never gone up to him to
maybe
shot down like that. You'd always have in the back of your mind that, like, maybe if I went up to him, he would have been different to me.
And he might have been having a bad day. He might have been. You don't know what people.
At a bar drinking, you don't know.
Yeah. Well, and actually, there's another part of the story that we should all be mindful of. He was with a woman, so I interrupted him in a hotel bar with a woman. So and hey, man. So I don't know if it was his wife. I don't. But a man with a woman or vice versa, alone in a hotel.
Trying to be somebody else, and you blew his cover.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
this is the story we should go with.
Yeah, he's telling her, "Hey, my name is Biff Nicholson. How would you like to come up to my room?"
Yeah.
"Hey, Johnny Bench, my name's Chris Duel." Okay. Quick break for the cut. But yeah, that I was never. I loved Johnny Bench since I was like 10, and I was like 22, and wasn't even going to do it. My friend pushed me up to introduce myself to him, and so that day he stopped being my favorite baseball player. Quick break. It is one of our 3 contests today. We do one now. We do another one at 7:20. Oh, and at 8:20, your chance to win tickets to see Korn and Stained coming to Circuit of the Americas. But right now, it's the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. You're going to get a keyword right now. Go take that keyword to either website, AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760, and you're in the money for $1,000. Here it is.
Chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Summer. That's summer. Enter it now.
Summer is the keyword. Shannon, it should have been Dark Ages. The Dark Ages have begun for me.
Or as Florence and the Machine call them, the dog days of summer.
Ooh, yeah, they're nice.
They sing about them being over, so maybe there's got to be a remix out there where they've just begun.
See, and I'm hip. I do know Florence and the Machine, and I like Florence and the Machine. Good reference.
All I know of them.
Well, that's still a very, very good reference. So, all right. Well, yeah, Anthony Del Toro. Yeah, I heard Johnny Bench on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday. Thank you. We're on Facebook Live. That's where I'm reading that. We stream live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook pages, and there's a link via YouTube. You can access that video. You can access it via Twitch. We put it out on the Twitter feeds, Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone. So Shannon, and again, this is who I am. I'm all about the great state of Texas. Now that my beloved San Antonio Spurs are done for the season, I'm going to say it, and especially in a moment, you'll know why. But the Houston Rockets are done. Not that I really like the Rockets at all, but your Dallas Mavericks are the last Texas team standing. So I now hereby throw my allegiance and my hopes to your Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Mark Cuban, Kristaps Porzingis, and most importantly, Boban Marjanovic. And another reason to love the Mavericks, they are going up against pure evil. Pure evil. If you're a Spurs fan, when did this all begin? When Kawhi Leonard screwed over the Spurs. That's when this little slide Shannon, RC Buford, they had a plan. And they had one of the top 3 or 5 players in place. They helped him develop. His name was Kawhi Leonard. Clearly, if Kawhi would have been here each of the last 2 years, the Spurs would not have missed the playoffs each of the last 2 years. He went off the deep end and screwed over a team, a coaching staff, teammates, and a city. Dallas Mavericks, please do me a favor. Go punk Kawhi Leonard. Knock him out of the playoffs.
I would love nothing more for that to happen, and that is very big of you.
Thank you.
To say that. So grab your goldfish in honor of Boban. As we know, that's his new endorsement deal. I got goldfish the other day just because I was like, I should eat these while I watch the playoffs.
I think I'm going to do that every Mavericks game. I'm going to get some goldfish and some beer, and especially when Boban is on the court, I'm going to be all over it. So, lots to talk about this morning. There was a big-time no-no in Major League Baseball yesterday. We'll talk about that, and it's got an interesting connection that Shannon will share with you at some point. What else? Oh, PGA Championship. Jordan Spieth. Some people think he's going to be the winner. Will it be Rory McIlroy, or will Bryson DeChambeau unleash the beast coming up? We're going to have a roundtable with Shannon, our golf guru Andy Everett, and Tanner Carlson, who is all about golf. We'll do that at 8:06. 8:35, Dave Gasaway, the general manager of the San Antonio Missions / the San Antonio Flying Chonklas. We'll get into a little bit of baseball with him, and lots going on. High Five Play of the Day is next. Shannon Salty Shakedown, Sports Birthday, Sports History coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. We will talk to Dave Ayler, our soundscape stylist, who is wearing his St. Louis Cardinals t-shirt. You can see it on Facebook Live right now. And we'll tell you our poll question, your chance to assess a grade. We'll tell you to whom you may assess that grade coming up when we reveal the poll question. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris, with you till 9, ushering in the dark ages of sports. Curse you, Johnny Bench. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. John Williams says, my cousin Tom Niedenfuhrer told me someone asked him for his autograph while in the men's room at LAX. Okay. Yeah, you don't do that. And in retrospect, now, even I knew at 22, you don't interrupt somebody's dinner. But he wasn't having dinner. It was a hotel bar, and he was just sitting at a little table with a woman, and wide open. It was the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown L.A. Well, and that same night, I've told the story before, and I won't go into it, but because I was a Cincinnati Reds fan and a Johnny Bench fan, I grew up hating the LA Dodgers. That same night that I was crushed by Johnny Bench, Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda met me and was like the coolest guy in the world. So someday I'll tell the Tommy Lasorda story. All right. I've got iced tea. Oh, Steve DeRocco, if you're still in here, on a Throwback Thursday, my Hail to the King t-shirt, Elvis Presley, the original King, of course, the current King, LeBron James. So going Elvis Presley. In fact, Steve DeRocco got this for me at Graceland. So it's even got that Graceland Elvis smell, or maybe that's just me. And San Antonio Commanders, my Commanders cap for Throwback Thursday. Thank you. And I'm going to get coffee. I have my own damn coffee because I'm a coffee snob. Not really. Oh, God, yes. I just saw what you wrote, Shannon, in the private comments. In fact, I saw that you probably via AM 1300's Twitter posted that we should probably also individually, or you or me or both, post. That's such a great photo. God bless it. I dripped some coffee on the floor. My bad. All right. Back in 90 seconds. David Valles, you can't say that. David Valles, Dallas has no chance against the Clips. David, beware of absolutes. The very fact that the Clippers beat them last year, I believe, is a big intangible, which will fire up the Mavericks and focus them more and focus the Clippers a little less. Plus those dirtbag Clippers dodging the Lakers. Screw them.
Yes, Luis, I posted his signing picture on the Zone socials yesterday. It's awesome. You got a good contract. We'll talk about it later. I believe the number is half of the draftees of this year's class have officially been signed at this point, which is, we're a month out.
Rudy, I see what you just wrote. Spurs need a big man and a little more maturation. We can develop our own superstar. I totally agree with you on both counts. They thought they had the big man, and maybe they do. When we came into the season, it was year number 2 of Luka Šamanić. And a lot of people forget Luka Šamanić was even drafted ahead of Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson, who turned out, at least through 2 seasons, to be a better value than Luka Šamanić. He was part of that Kawhi Leonard deal, so higher in that draft 2 years ago. So you had Šamanić, a big man, Jakob Poeltl playing better, and you started the season with LaMarcus Aldridge, often playing center or forward. But I do agree with you. Get a big man. I think they will. But I go back to the Golden State Warriors when they developed their big 3, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. That was all through the draft. And that was without like the number one pick in the draft. That was kind of middling a little bit in the draft. And it was that core, as you know, that won the 73 games before they even brought Kevin Durant on board. So, yeah, Hector, I agree with you. I think Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell have that breakthrough star potential. I believed it for Lonnie Walker IV. He's been a little inconsistent lately. Derek White, not a superstar, but a very, very good role player. Even a little better than a role player. So, yeah. So now if you got a big man, they're going to have about the number 11 pick in the upcoming draft. If you got a big man and the number 11 pick in the draft and all these guys in the system one more year, plus you're still going to have a ton of money to spend in free agency. That's the good news. But as we've said many times, the only two major transformational prizes of free agency this summer are Kawhi Leonard and DeMar DeRozan, which I think is a crazy irony. You know, they were involved in that deal, and here they are. Both can go walk wherever they want to walk. And DeMar is so loyal and such a different breed of cat. And he loved Toronto, and he's got a lot of friends still in Toronto. I wouldn't rule that out for him. And Toronto's now looking to try to upgrade themselves after missing the playoffs. All right. Yep, Carl Fisher, agree. Derek White needs to stay healthy. Yeah, and, you know, the two injuries this year, that is now becoming a bit of a concern. Is that a chronic thing? You hope not. Okay, here we come. I have to officially introduce Dave Ayler, which I haven't done yet, because I'm rude and welcome back on a Throwback Thursday. It's the Chris Duel Show. Speaking of Throwback Thursday, if you go to Twitter, our little show announcement for what's on the show today, you can see throwback photos of Shannon in high school, me as my black and white headshot as a hack Los Angeles comedian in 1991. Dave Ayler, God knows when that photo was, wearing some, it looks like Dave, I think you were wearing Jackie Onassis's sunglasses in that photo. I found it on your Facebook page.
I think that's from probably about 10 years ago. It's at our old studio. Somebody found some sunglasses laying in the studio, so we all decided to try them on and take pictures of each other.
You look good on it. I hope you saved those.
Well, they look, you know, I didn't keep them. I think they were women's sunglasses. So
all the more reason.
I can pull it off probably.
Yeah, make a statement. Hey, man, I'm androgynous. I can wear any damn sunglasses.
I can't pull it off as well as Marv Albert, but
oh God, here we go. Yes,
but, not bad.
3 days in a row. 3 days, 3 Marv Albert references, alluding to his interesting fling in a hotel room. I got to just first of all welcome Dave Ayler. I didn't officially announce you, even though you brought up the name Johnny Bench to me and traumatized me in the previous segment. But you are wearing your St. Louis Cardinals T-shirt. How are they? Are they? I mean, they're always winning. They're always knocking on the door. They're doing it again this year.
First place in the NL Central. Big series against the Cubs this weekend. Cards Cubs, always interesting.
Outstanding.
Starts Friday.
That is always a fun one. Is there, you know, I think about other rivalries per se, like the Cowboys and the Eagles or the Cowboys and the Washington football team. Is there bad blood? I mean, do Cardinals fans hate Cubs fans and vice versa?
No, it's actually pretty friendly. When I was back doing the Stanley Cup in 2019, some of the there were Cards Cubs were playing that weekend, and one of the Boston guys came over and was talking to me, and he's like, "I'm getting tickets for tonight's game." I go, "Oh, great!" And he goes, "Is there anything I should know about before I go over there?" And I go, "No." I go, "This isn't like Yankees Red Sox where, you know, the fans fight each other and the teams fight each other and all that." And so he goes goes to the game, and I see him the next day. I go, "How was the game?" He goes, "That may have been the best baseball experience I've ever had in my life."
Wow.
He goes, "There were Cubs fans and Cardinals fans like in the same bar." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "There's bars that you don't in Boston. If you're a Yankees fan, you don't even go in there."
Yeah.
And I go, "No, it's nothing like that." And everybody was just sitting around having a good time talking baseball. I go, "Yeah, that's how it is."
That's amazing. I know a guy who went to, I think it was when the Eagles played at Veterans Stadium before Lincoln Financial, where they feel, but he didn't think. He was in the Navy at the time. He was from Texas, and he wore a Cowboys jersey to an Eagles game at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. They beat the crap. People started just punching him. People were just walking by, punch him in the shoulder, push him. It was, God.
And don't they have like a court set up in Veterans Stadium?
They got a jail. Now there's a jail.
Yeah, where it's like they don't even have to take you over to the courthouse. They just
arrange
it right there.
There's a judge. There are bars. They'll cuff you. You're in jail. And after the game, they'll transport you to the county jail. All right. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We love doing this. We love good stories. We love giving people high fives. It is time for our high five play of the day. And high five is not just the name of the very delightful segment. It is a very, very cool, two of them actually, two locations in Austin, one of which Shannon Salty Sweeney going to be hosting a watch party this weekend.
Yes, it is the place to be this Sunday for the Austin FC versus Nashville match. I'll be there starting at 7:30. Kickoff is at 8, so come early, hang out, try your hand at axe throwing. If you hit a bullseye, you're automatically entered to win a $50 high five gift card. And Sippin' Sunday. So $15 craft pitchers, $12 domestic pitchers, and $5 12-inch pizzas. So fun all around. Come cheer on Austin FC with myself this weekend. And today, Chris, our story, sorry, Rangers fans, but we've got to mention it because there's a local tie to this.
Woo!
Former Missions pitcher, I believe his name is Corey Kluber.
Yes.
Yesterday made some news because he threw his first career no-hitter pitching against the Texas Rangers. He struck out 9 batters with 1 walk. It's the 6th no-hitter in the big leagues this season and 2nd consecutive day with a no-hitter. We're having so many of these this year. But the great tie to this is that he is a former San Antonio Missions player.
That is so cool.
And we, of course, are talking to San Antonio Missions GM David Gasaway later today. 8:30, correct?
8:35, yes.
8:35.
Yes, Dave Gasaway. The Mission's kind of just getting it rolling at the Wolf in San Antonio, and as you know, Shannon, the Missions. We've talked around. We love Round Rock, the Round Rock Express up where you are. Missions down here, the Missions Alter Ego, which I love, the Flying Chanclas. But yeah, the Missions, and you showed it to me this morning, Shannon. They tweeted out a photo of Corey Kluber when he was in San Antonio pitching for the Missions in his Missions uniform and his Missions baseball cap. This is why I tell people, if you're going to watch the Round Rock Express or the San Antonio Missions, I mean, remember who you're watching.
Yeah.
If you can get a program and save it, because a lot of people, I'm sure, watched Corey Kluber pitch in San Antonio and thought, wow, that kid's pretty good. Well, now he's immortalized. In fact, that no-hitter you mentioned for the Yankees last night, the first for the Yankees since David Cone pitched a perfect game back in 1999. And you talked about the frequency of all of these no-hitters in baseball. There have been 4 in the last 15 days. In the last 15 days in Major League Baseball, there's been 4 no-hitters. That is the second largest in a span of 15 days in Major League history. There were 4 in a 13-day span in 1917. So it's been over 100 years in Major League Baseball that 4 no-hitters have come anywhere near this close together in a season.
And there's still so much season left to be played. You make it a fantastic point about when you go to these games, pay attention to the names on the back of the jerseys.
Yeah.
I mean, the great thing about these teams, the Missions and Round Rock Express, is not only are they great atmospheres. I mean, I love nothing more than just going to a day game and taking it in and relaxing and watching and quote unquote working because I have a press pass. But you see these players, not only are they players that you may not have heard of yet, but you also get a few players who come down for rehab from the teams that you already know and love. And then there's guys like Yordan Alvarez, who of course has turned into the home run hitter for the Astros, who played with Rock Express when they were associated with the Astros. Of course, they are now back with the Rangers. So they probably didn't appreciate last night's game as much, but still an awesome thing. We'll tweet out the picture on both of our socials on AIM 1300 and Ticket 760, so you can see it, because he's a large human.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like he could have been a football player at some point. Like, he's got football neck.
He does. And a couple of things about him. One, he was with the Rangers last year. So, I mean, God, if you're the Rangers, you let him. I mean, that would be like, and I'm angry at him. Garrett Cole, who was with the Astros a couple of years ago and then went to the Yankees. That would be like Garrett Cole coming back to Minute Maid Park and pitching a no-hitter against the Astros. I would hate that. But apparently Corey Kluber, he's had injury problems. Apparently he was hit with a line drive a couple of years ago that really knocked him out for a while. I think I don't know if it was Tommy John surgery, but he had surgery. I was listening to a report this morning such that it was questionable as to whether or not he could even continue his Major League Baseball career. So for him to come all the way back and get this no-hitter, just one walk away from a perfect game. He walked one batter. Otherwise, he'd have, like David Cone, the last no-hitter for the Yankees in 1999. Corey Kluber darn near had a perfect game last night. But, and again, I don't love the Yankees, but you look at individual athletes, and especially a guy who thought perhaps his career was coming to an end, worked hard, rehabbed, must have to done this last night, continued to believe in himself and find a way. And congratulations on the no-hitter, Corey Kluber.
Incredible. I don't know if this is good or bad for baseball with all these no-hitters. Is it better pitching?
That's interesting.
Hitting? Do we find this exciting that there's less action?
See, what I'm hearing is, and you're
talking about it, so it's good in that way.
Oh yeah, and Dave Ayler, you're a big baseball guy too, so chime in if you feel it. But what I'm hearing, Shannon, is part of the problem is now everybody's swinging for the fences, whereas before, and for decades, you'd have a variety of hitters, hitting ground balls, hitting into the infield, hitting into the corners, hitting strategically to get a single, to get a double. Now you've got these, chicks dig the long ball, so everybody's swinging. I heard some statistic yesterday that there's the highest percentage ever of a pitch in Major League Baseball now either result. I mean, they're swing. So I think two things happen. A, you're going to get a lot of home runs because that's what they're swinging for. B, when you don't get the home run, when you strike out, a guy like Corey Kluber might get a no-hitter. So your question is this good or bad for baseball? I wish baseball would kind of get back to a little more of its fundamentals. I think that would make baseball more interesting.
Yeah, and maybe I know baseball uses a lot of analytics. I mean, the Astros specifically are really big into the computer science of it all and pitching and knowing what pitch is coming next. And you almost think that plays into, okay, this is when you need to, you think they'd maybe say, okay, this is where you would bunt, this is where you'd go for a single versus this is where you go for a homer. But instead it's almost like they're using it to say, this is how you hit the homer off of X pitch.
Yeah. Now, Dave Ayler, you're a baseball purist. Are Shannon and I just speaking blasphemy, suggesting there is something wrong with the way baseball is being played in 2021 compared to maybe 2011?
I actually agree with you. It's either a batter strikes out or he hits a home run. And they should get back to, just like you said, get back to the fundamentals. Play short ball, and you'll score. There'll be more scoring.
Yeah.
And I think it's more interesting. But it's like the 3-point shot in NBA. That's all they're shooting now.
That's a great analogy, because NBA basketball is not what it used to be. In fact, we were talking yesterday about Tim Duncan and being a big man and playing fundamental basketball. I watched that game last night, and I got to give it to him. I've never loved him, Steph Curry, but he was just running up and down the court, jacking up 3-point shots, jacking up off balance fadeaway 3-point shots with a guy on him and just swishing the ball. But that's what the game has turned into in the NBA. And you look at a guy like Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward ever. I believe, one of the top 5 basketball players ever. He played. How would that game translate in 2021? I mean, obviously, and I said this yesterday, Shannon, I think Tim Duncan, great athlete that he is, would adapt. He'd have figured out. He'd have been, there are big, last night, Jonas Valanciunas of the Memphis Grizzlies dominated the Spurs. So I'm sure he'd find a way. But it is interesting that Dave brings that up. Baseball's played differently today than it was 10 years ago, and so is basketball.
Yeah. And you think, you say he would adapt. I certainly think he would. I mean, you look at Giannis, you look at Jokic.
Yeah.
They're big men who can also, pop a shot from almost anywhere on the floor. So you kind of have to be that dual threat player, even if you're known for being the big man inside.
True. I do want to mention, since we were talking about baseball, and I saw this on my phone when it happened during the Spurs game last night. I've been looking closely at this Oakland A's Houston Astros series, and night before last, the Astros had a shot to move into first place because they were a half a game behind the Oakland A's, and they lost that game 6-5 on a sac fly, scored a run, bottom of the ninth for the A's 2 nights ago. So last night they play again, and Jose Altuve, first batter up, first pitch of the game, takes the first pitch and knocks the first pitch out of the park for a home run. And the Astros just, again, they're scoring more runs than any other team in baseball right now. The Astros explode. They get 8 runs. They beat the Oakland A's 8-1. So those two teams, it'll be the final game of the series tonight. Now the Astros back to a half a game behind the Oakland A's, an opportunity for the Astros tonight to take over first place in the AL West. That now that the dark ages are here and my Spurs are dead, Shannon, I got to find something to give me hope in life. So maybe it'll be the Houston Astros.
Well, lucky for you, the NFL never sleeps.
Thank God.
Lots. I mean, we've got Deshaun Watson appearing out of Instagram, posting workout videos. Actually, they were reposts, so he wasn't the originator of the posts.
Huh.
But interesting was that, and you can really tell in one of his videos, they're on his Instagram stories. But he's working out. I think at this point he's doing like those I don't know what you call them, but the ropes, where you pick him up and down really fast.
Yeah.
And he's being filmed by like a huge camera that's almost doing movie type shots, and then someone is then filming for Instagram, which we then see. So I'm wondering if now he's been really silent. We don't know. We haven't really heard much news about the case in a while. Is he filming his own documentary or something? Like, are we going to get something out of this when this is all said and done, where he like defends himself and puts everything out on the table? Is that why he's being so quiet right now?
It's a great question. And as you say that, Shannon, and you said we haven't heard much about this story lately, and that is including from the accusers lately. And one of the, a lot of analysts have said if Deshaun Watson wants to get out of this and play football again soon, he's probably going to get an 8-month or an 8-game or a full season suspension no matter what. He needs to use a lot of his millions of dollars and settle out of court with these ladies. Maybe that's happening behind the scenes. You look for a reason why there's been radio silence involving this Deshaun Watson story, and you think of the timing that this Instagram series of videos came out yesterday. Is this part of a plan that maybe he and his PR people are orchestrating? Right.
Do they know something that obviously the rest of us don't, and he's going to be fine? He's going to come back, and he's still clearly keeping in shape for football when and if he returns.
See, I want to see an Instagram video of Deshaun Watson on a psychiatrist's couch talking about why he does what he does. And I want to see an Instagram video of him mowing a lawn and doing chores at a women's shelter. I'd love to see him just become a better human being. And again, we don't know, innocent until you're proven guilty. But as I've often said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Where are we at? Like 22 accusers here? Maybe 24, something crazy.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
God, and for his sake, for everybody's sake, and even if Deshaun Watson did half of the things or 10% of the things he's accused of, they are absolutely despicable. But I hope for human beings to grow and evolve and redeem themselves And hopefully that happens for Deshaun Watson, and hopefully there will be peace and justice for the victims, and hopefully their trauma is alleviated or at least soothed over the years. Quick break, lots more coming up. So much going on in the world of sports. Talking NBA playoffs. We'll take a look at the 2 games remaining in the play-in tournament. We got one of them tonight. Contest coming at 7:20. Contest coming at 8:20. PGA Championship talk with Shannon, Tanner Carlson, and Andy Everett coming your way. Lots going on. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Juan says if you're a home run hitter, you get paid more. Yeah, that could be part of it. Jerry Lauder, good morning. I know Jerry from way back at the River Center Comedy Club many years ago. Hello, Jerry. Good to see you. Sorry you had some Twitter problems. That is amazing how that goes away. I don't get that. Okay. Let's try this. I got a Jamie on Twitter saying time to move on from Pop. Oh gosh, I got to watch out for that. I was going to respond to him with something snarky. And I was on Ticket 760's Twitter account. That's what I used to post the poll. So let me get on mine before I say anything snarky on behalf of Ticket 760. Excuse me. Oh. Okay. Good, Jerry. Good to hear. Glad you're doing well. Carl Fisher writes, people say we need to move from Pop and players are spoiled. Question to ask, who is out there to fit the Spurs system and lead the Spurs way? Well, first of all, and I'll answer your question secondly, Carl, but I'm one of these guys who thinks Pop is great and still doing a great job. And some analysts say maybe he's done his best coaching this year. This was his youngest team ever. And it got a lot younger when we jettisoned LaMarcus Aldridge. Who is out there to fit the Spurs system? Two words, Becky Hammond. Homegrown, trained in this system. I mean, you could argue Will Hardy and the other Mitch Johnson and the other coaches as well. But I just really think Becky Hammond has that it factor and that quality. I just get the feeling she's going to do big things. And I strongly believe that her best chance for success would be here in San Antonio, because she would step in to a locker room that she's already been in many, many years. And a lot of these young players came up in the NBA with her. Whereas, if she was hired, at another location, Sacramento, they just decided to keep Luke Walton for another season. Becky having to step into another city, into another locker room, into another culture with all of the challenges and distractions that would accompany being the first woman head coach in the NBA. I just say do it here. And I don't know any of this. It is just speculation, but I think that's the master plan. I would not be surprised if Pop has had conversations with Becky and maybe she has an inkling as to, and maybe he told her when he's planning on riding off into the sunset. And if she is the anointed one, and it would just be the right thing to do, because she has so many opportunities to, if she is going to be the heir apparent, then for her to know that now would just be a good way to approach it. I think whether it's, and there are some people who say, and I said this yesterday, savor every moment of last night, because while we assume it's not Pop's last night as head coach of the Spurs last night, anything can happen. And even if it's not on his radar right now, he could wake up on July 28th, and hopefully the Olympics will be going on at that point. But and change his mind, and he'd have that right. And the flip side of that is he loves basketball. And maybe this run with these young players energized him more than ever. Maybe this is just what he needed, this challenge. And you look at his life dating back to the Air Force Academy, he's always been a high achiever. For him, even at age 72, to walk away without getting this group of players to a threshold where they're knocking on the door, it might not be in his DNA to give up this project until this project is where he wants it to be. Carl, good question. Again, part of that could, my belief is the plan is do what Golden State did, develop homegrown, home drafted talent, hoping Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker, maybe now. I have less confidence that he'll be a breakthrough player, but he might. And the Spurs are going to have money to spend. So and when Pop steps aside, Pop may still stick around as a consultant. So you look at the culture and the stability of a San Antonio with a Becky Hammon, who is a Pop protege. I still think the right free agent would see the value. Plus, they can throw a lot of money at somebody. Me too, Carl. And Pop, I trust, man.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a Thursday. It is Throwback Thursday. And if you are a regular with the show, first of all, thank you. If you're new to the show, thank you too for hanging out with us. But we just start the weekend on Thursday. If your employer requires a note, Shannon or I will gladly write a note for you that your weekend has begun now on Thursday. And, we can email it to you and you can just print it and, we'll sign it and just say, hey, I was listening to Shannon and Chris and they declare that the weekend begins on Thursday. So A, I'm not coming in tomorrow, and B, I'm just going to dog it today at work. In fact, I might even start day drinking at work. So I'm just saying.
The PGA Championship has already started, so.
Ooh, that's right.
I mean, you've got places to be, people.
Yes, and
TV.
And you're not kidding. I heard that the first golfers were going to go right at like 7 just now, or was it 6 o'clock?
It might have been earlier. Looks
okay.
Like we've got a couple people who are through the second hole.
Nice. So are we each going to pick a winner? We're going to have Andy Everett, Tanner Carlson join us 1 hour from now. You know who I'm picking, Shannon. I am down with Bryson DeChambeau. He has maligned people like you and Andy Everett. Go, oh, he can't putt. He's just a big hulkish man who just hits the ball wildly. This is his time. It's DeChambeau time, baby.
So we're picking one, or are we snake drafting 3?
We could do either. Heck, we'll snake draft 3.
3 makes me feel more confident.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do.
So I won't look at any more. I just wanted to
Okay.
let everyone know it has started. So if you need that note, you better get it in quickly.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, just right now, just take the weekend off. Start watching golf. Keep us on so you can have a T screen on and keep us on in the background. Of course.
We're much more entertaining than golf commentators.
Yes, we are. Exactly.
Especially on a Thursday.
Well, see, now I got 1 hour, less than an hour, because you and Tanner and Andy are much more knowledgeable about the PGA than I am. So I got to cheat. I got to go find me some Vegas site that handicaps the PGA Championship.
This one's hard though, because I think the course is a longer course.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, a lot of writers are saying it doesn't play well for guys like Bryson or Dustin Johnson, who typically knock them so far.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a bunch of good golfers that I like written down, and I'll take them as they come, and when y'all pick one, I'll mark them off.
And I want to ask Andy about that because that's so weird because you said, and I've heard this course is a long course. So as soon as I heard it's a longer course, my thought was you got to drive the ball further, and who better to drive the heck out of the ball than Bryson DeChambeau. So, but yeah, and again, though, the knock on him is, no finesse, not only with the putting, but even the driving. He can hit it a long way, but not as accurately as people would hope.
I think it also doesn't help that he doesn't carry himself with finesse. And so that really just rubs people
So explain that. I want to make sure I understand what you mean by that.
I mean, he's always he and Patrick Reed are always asking for rulings when they don't need rulings. I mean, they are the top complainers of golf.
Okay.
They are the villains of golf. And that's fine. I think golf needs villains. It makes it more interesting.
True.
They're good follows when they do make it into the weekend.
So since there's 4 of us, are we picking 3 or are we picking 4 golfers in a snake draft?
I say 3.
3, yeah. Because with 4 of us,
golfers is a lot.
Yeah, you're right. So okay, we'll each pick 3.
Getting into the weeds at that point, maybe.
True. So that's very, very cool. We did not get to the poll question yet, so we will do that now. Shannon, the San Antonio Spurs, their season is over. I am bummed out, as I said, in the 6 o'clock hour, and I've felt this way since the 70s. To me, the dark ages of sports begin when the Spurs season ends and until the NFL season begins. Isn't that great to hear one of your radio talk show hosts? Hey, everybody, welcome to Sports Talk. The dark ages are here. What the hell are we going to talk about?
We've got a lot going on. We've got the Missions, the Express.
Woo! Yes.
FC,
I know.
College Baseball World Series, and hopefully the Olympics.
I need to get my attitude together. Speaking of the Olympics, and I will get to the poll question, I promise, but now, first of all, you got all these protests, and I saw our good friend Taro Kotani on Facebook Live with us earlier, joining us from Tokyo, Japan. You now have massive public protests because COVID is spiking again in Tokyo and in Japan. You've got these massive public protests, and now you've got a mass of doctors. A bunch of doctors in Tokyo have come forward and said, we can't do this. We need to cancel or postpone the Tokyo Olympic Games. With each passing day, Shannon, it looks like these Tokyo Olympics are hanging by a thread.
Yeah, I can barely keep up with our own state regulations as far as what's in and what's out as in relation to COVID. That I certainly have no idea what's going on over there and their vaccination rates and their, positive test rates. So just let me know when it's yes or no.
See, I can summarize our state of Texas regulations for you. You ready for COVID?
Yeah.
Here's my summary. Yeehaw! Greg Abbott says, no masks in schools, no masks in businesses. You can now sell alcohol to go. Yeehaw! So yeah, we are taking the yeehaw approach to COVID, thanks to Governor Greg Abbott. Oh, and one other thing, I try not to go political here either, but the other thing Abbott's doing, a lot of people who were hurting for money were getting an extra $300 on their unemployment checks, but there are Texas business lobbyists who have gone to the governor and said, hey, all these Texans who are getting this extra $300, they're not, it's not motivating them to go get a job and work. So let's take away that $300. So he's rescinding $300 that some people are getting on top of their unemployment because they're lazy, apparently. So I'm just saying,
no comment.
People could maybe use that money. I'm just saying. Big fan of the show, Governor Abbott.
So the poll question,
yes.
Now that it's all over, what final grade do you give the Spurs season? Pretty simple. We're going A, B, C, or D or F. No votes for A at all, which is good. Let's be realistic.
If you give the Spurs an A, you're smoking crack.
7% going with B, 53.8% going with C, and 38.5% saying D or F.
D or F? Yeah, I don't think you go D or F. Yeah, you got into the play-in situation. You had to deal with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're voting D or F, you're still comparing them to the age of Manu and Tony and Tim, where I think you have to go year to year. And like you said, I mean, look at the circumstances that you were put under and what the expectations were going into the season.
True. I think most people, the vast majority, have given the Spurs a C. As much as I love the Spurs, and I do, and as much as I want to give them a B, and this was, don't forget, two things, well, many things, but I'll just go with two. This was the youngest team Greg Popovich has ever coached in San Antonio. You crunched it, even before LaMarcus Aldridge left, you add up the average age of this Spurs team, and it was the youngest team Pop has ever coached. That's a little difficult. It's got a level of difficulty. Then you add COVID. Then you had the COVID shutdown for about a week and a half. And then you had the second half of the season where the Spurs never had 2 nights in a row off. They played 40 games in 60 nights-ish. And it was just a grind. And even assistant coach Becky Hammond, while first prefacing last night with Bill Schoening on the postgame show, we make no excuses, but she did point out it was an unprecedented grind to play these games in the volume they played it. Never in any of these players' college or professional careers have they been forced to play so much basketball, and the Spurs had more games backloaded into the second half of the season and a tougher opponent's percentage schedule than anybody else. So I think it's wrong to give them a D or an F. I think it's obviously wrong to give them an A, and good on our voters. Nobody gave them an A. I think a B is a stretch. I think a C is just right. It's like you get a C and you graduate. It's like, here's your diploma. You pass. We're going to move you from 10th grade to 11th grade. You're not in the National Honor Society, but you pass. Congratulations. We'll see you next year.
Right. You get to move on and try, start from scratch.
Yes.
New year, new season. You can only go up from here.
And I see people on social media, and we were getting it last night. And I know Spurs fans, you're spoiled because I'm one of you. And we went through 22, 23 years of always going to the playoffs and going to 6 finals and winning 5 of them. I'm seeing a lot. It's time. I just saw a tweet during the show this morning. It's time to move on from Pop. Really? The arguably the greatest coach in the history of the NBA, and some people think I'm nuts for saying that, but Red Auerbach of the Celtics, it was like an 8-team league, and he had all the good players when the Celtics won all those titles in the 60s. The Zen master Phil Jackson with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and others in Chicago, big market. Phil Jackson in LA, Shaq, Kobe, big market. For Pop to do what he has done in San Antonio, small market. When he got here, never sniffed an NBA Finals. For him to build a culture as he did and do what he has done, and this year to coach the youngest Spurs team he has ever coached, I find it very cynical, Shannon. I find it very uninformed for people to say, oh, we just got to move on from Pop. And somebody, I think it was Carl Fisher on Facebook Live, made the point, all right, here you go. You get to be the general manager, Brian Wright, alongside R.C. Buford, and you want to move on from Pop. Who do you want to move on to? Who's going to come in here and do a significantly better job than Coach Greg Popovich? I don't know that there's somebody out there who can.
I mean, that's always the question, though. I mean, that was the deal with Shaka and Tom Herman, the argument for people at Texas who wanted them to stay. Well, who are you going to go get? That's always going to be out there. I can understand the theory of the Spurs are young. They're only going to get younger as they bring in more players because they're going to get good draft picks, and we don't know what their superstar caliber is going to be going in next year. Why not start fresh and just start from scratch? And we've got this young gun movement across the NFL and even college football and college basketball and in the NBA with a guy like Brad Stevens, even I'd consider Steve Nash a young coach, right? I mean, it's the youth movement is very loud in professional sports, that I can see the idea of a fresh start. But at the same time, you look at what Pop has done for San Antonio and that city and the Spurs organization, there's no way that they just let him go. They may decide mutually that it is time to part ways, but they're going to let him leave on his own accord. And if he's not ready, he's not leaving.
And again, even if he was inept now and kind of senile, which he's not, I remember in the final days of Al Davis as the managing general partner of the Oakland Raiders, people thought Al was kind of off his rocker at the end. But even if Pop were like that, what you just said, he has earned the lifetime achievement award to leave whenever he damn well pleases, even if his skills were diminishing a little bit, but they're not. He is a brilliant basketball mind. He is a mad genius. He is a cultural engineer. He is a leader of men and women, and he is the last. And maybe this is an argument for why it's more difficult with younger players, but he is the last of a dying breed of disciplinarian head coaches where it's like, hey, here's the culture. We know this works because we've seen it get us to the finals 6 times and win it 5 times. So you need to, and what he often says, you've got to come here and get over yourself. We're looking for players who can get over themselves. And that's hard for NBA players to do because these kids, ever since they were kids playing AAU basketball, they've been the man. And now, even at age 15, they're the man on Instagram, on social media. There are websites who, when a kid is 14, 15, they're already projecting this kid in the NBA at age 19 to come to San Antonio, and essentially you're going into the military. Pop is an Air Force Academy graduate. He is your supreme commander. He's your commanding officer. So you are going to respect the rules. You're going into and so an NBA player who's been the man since he was 15 and now is a multi-millionaire. You want to come to San Antonio and join the military, which is the San Antonio Spurs organization? Some will, because some will realize, you know what? I'm going to join the military. I'm going to become a better player. Pop and R.C. Buford and Chip England and Becky Hammond and Will Hardy, this entire staff is going to make me a better player. And I might just win a few championships. A smart player might do that, but I think your average NBA player, it's about pound my chest, me, dig me, ego. And I always go back to this, Shannon. PJ Carlissimo once told Bill Schoening on a pregame interview a few years ago that when Greg Popovich and R.C. Buford and the Spurs Brain Trust sit down at the big oak table to make a personnel decision, question number 1 is about a player. Is he a Spur? And we all know what that means. Can he get over himself? Is he more about the team than he is about being an individual? And obviously Tim Duncan was, Manu was, Tony Parker was. If you make this roster, you are. But I dare say that 80% of NBA players are not. 80% are about ego. They want money. They want bling. They want to go clubbing. They want to have their social media presence.
I agree with that.
Okay.
You make a very good point.
I'm
and you are
just
very
saying.
passionate, sir.
I am. Well, I've watched this dude for 3 decades now. We're getting a phone call, and it's good Wes knows the phone number because I haven't given the number out today. 800-707-9760 is the phone number, 800-707-9760. Wes Perkins, a regular caller, and joins us on Facebook Live frequently. We've had him in studio and on Spurs React. He is thank you for that. I screwed up the contest. Wes, wait a second, because I'm 2 minutes late for the contest. It is the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. Your chance to win $1,000. Take the keyword, go to the website. It goes something like this.
Right now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website.
Good morning, Beth Settle.
Sports. Enter it now.
Sports. That's what we talk about. We talk about sports. On the phone line, 800-707-9760, a passionate Spurs fan, a Texas Tech alum, a band leader, and a great American. Wes Perkins, welcome. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Shannon, Chris, Dave. Thanks for letting me take a call this morning. But I heard what y'all were saying about Pop and people being impatient and whatnot. And it kind of fits a bookend to what he's been about. Early in his career, people were just disgruntled, didn't like that he took the team over after Bob Hill, and here we are all those years later after all of the championships, and it doesn't seem to matter to some. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. And I'll go one further. This team, the young talent, the young core that they have, wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Greg Popovich and R.C. Buford. They drafted hidden gems at 28, 29, 28, 19 in the draft. I mean, come on, let's be real. They're one or two players away from having a really solid playoff team again.
Totally agree, Wes. Absolutely agree. Thanks so much for the phone call. And Shannon, I'm amazed by, and he makes a point that I forgot about. When Pop first took over, the players, Sean Elliott, Avery Johnson, they had a coach named Bob Hill, and Bob Hill was winning a bunch of games. In fact, I think he won 60 games one season, but the players didn't like him, and the players felt a disconnect with him. And Pop was the general manager at the time, and listening to the players, Pop determined we're not going to get over the hump and get to the finals with Bob Hill. So he fired Bob Hill, and that angered a lot of Spurs fans, and all the way up to and even beyond the 1999 Spurs first ever championship. Whenever the going got tough for the Spurs, you would hear people call in to Spurs React, which was hosted by Andy Everett at the time, and say, "Fire Pop. We got to fire Pop. He sucks. We get him out of here." And it's like, really? Maybe Spurs fans maybe don't know best. Maybe Pop and RC Buford and this organization kind of knows what it's doing. And I think they've certainly demonstrated that.
I mean, we see this all the time in sports. The second a team isn't performing to either expectations or expectations that the fans once knew and or viewed and achieved, then it's immediately we start from the top down and we want to clean house.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that there are people reacting this way.
But
at the same time, he deserves to like completely burn the whole thing down and still walk away a legend from the Spurs if that's what he wanted to do. Absolutely
agree. And you said earlier, and you made a great analogy. It was like you talked about Shaka Smart and Tom Herman with the Longhorns, and people were saying, well, if we replace Tom Herman, who are we going to get? If we replace Shaka Smart, who are we going to get? But the big difference, obviously, they didn't have 5 championships. They didn't go to the championship 6 times and win it 5. And again, everything you said, even if he wanted to burn it down and then walk away whenever he decided, totally agree.
You'd be like, that's the best destruction of a team and organization we've ever seen. Give him an award for that.
Whoa! Did you see what he did? Exactly.
Number 1.
All right, coming up, Shannon's salty shakedown, always outstanding. What happened on this day in sports history? One of the events involves a Longhorn who's having a sports birthday. We'll talk about all those fun things coming up. And I got to do my research here during the break. Are Andy Everett, Tanner Carlson, Shannon Salty Sweeney, and me 4-way 3 golfer snake draft for the PGA Championship? We'll come do that and a whole lot more. Lots of fun coming up. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're here till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Great call, Wes Perkins. Beth Settle, good morning. Said that earlier in case you didn't hear me. Welcome in. Yeah, Jason, the Houston Texans, man, have they fallen from, I won't say prominence because they weren't ever prominent, but they were decent and they were good and they were always knocking on the door. All right, a little more coffee. I'm heating my coffee. I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you. And did you get the thing on Twitter that I sent another email? Yes, please. Thank you.
Don Holding has what's going on, a.k.a. Hoss. Don is our resident wrestler. Had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. Good to see you, Don.
Coming back here will be Drake.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for the heads up.
I saw something last night that made me think about you. Did you have Showtime?
I do not. I have just about everything other than Showtime.
Did you ever see the series? It's probably on Netflix called I'm Dying Up Here.
No, I have not.
Oh, my God. It takes place at a comedy club during the 70s.
Oh, my goodness.
And they did like 2 seasons of it and never brought it back, but they're reshowing it now on Showtime. You can probably find it on Netflix.
Okay, I'll go look for it.
And it's basically how they stab each other in the back and get the good spots.
Yeah.
The big room. It takes place at a place called Goldie's, and it's the comedy store.
That's hilarious.
This is actually Bitsy Shore. You can tell
Yeah. Wow.
And it all takes place during the 70s.
Wow. Amazing.
I'm dying up here. Basically, they're all strung out on drugs.
Yeah.
But when I thought, I go, Chris would probably like this.
That sounds good. Yeah. I'll never forget. I was living in LA and gosh, this was like 81. And we would go to the Comedy Store and late at night, one of the last comics to get up, he was a doorman by the name of Sam Kinison. And it was before he had his look. He was like wearing a leisure suit. He didn't have the scarves or anything. but he'd get him, he'd do his whole, we loved him. We would, well, and we would, and nobody knew who he was yet. And we would call the comedy club going, is Kinnison going on tonight? And yeah, what time? Well, at 1:30 a.m. It's like, okay, we'll be there. John Williams, what about Don Bartlett Hall? What's your question? See, Greg says, sorry, Spurs. Although you knew the Spurs were in trouble because they had to win back-to-back, go Lakers. All right, Greg. There's a part of me. I like LeBron James. Here we go. I don't feel bad when LeBron is successful. Started off kind of majestic. I do believe this music is by request from Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon, what do you have to say for yourself?
I love it.
Woo!
I love it. I love a good beat. I love good intro like that. I love good instrumental. Gets me going. And of course, Drake sitting courtside at that Lakers-Warriors game last night because his Raptors are not in the playoffs. So he's back to bandwagoning like we know and love him for.
And I had the same thought when I saw him on the sidelines last night. Like, hey, dude, I thought you were all about the Toronto Raptors.
LeBron hit that 3 last night, and the first pan they went to was of Drake. And I believe Michael B. Jordan was sitting next to him.
Wow.
He's a fantastic actor. But it's like, there he is. So I'm sure we'll see him throughout the playoffs, no matter what team is there. I
guess if you're an actor and your name is Michael Jordan, you go, I guess I better go with Michael B. Jordan. Because, if you tried to go with Michael Jordan, dude, you're no Michael Jordan. So now I wonder if indeed, and it's going to be tough now, if the Lakers are on a collision course with the Clippers. Who's Drake? Because Drake, the Toronto thing, does he still dig Kawhi? Is he going to be pulling for Kawhi? But he seems to have this relationship with LeBron. Who is Drake going to be? Or is he just bandwagon Drake? Is he going to pull for both of them?
Yeah. And that song, by the way, is called Trophies.
Trophies.
So he loves any team that's on the cusp.
Wow.
Of a good hardware to take home.
Very, very nice. Coming up, just a reminder, your chance at 8:20 to win tickets to go see the bands Korn and Stained at Circuit of the Americas. Also, just after 8 o'clock, we're talking some PGA Championship, which is already underway this morning. Opening round has begun. Our golf guru, Andy Everett, along with Tanner Carlson, will do a 4-way, 3-player draft for the PGA Championship. And Dave Gasaway, the general manager of the San Antonio Missions, on a morning after former San Antonio Mission Corey Kluber threw the no-hitter in Arlington last night as the Yankees beat the Rangers. We'll talk about some of the baseball that's going to happen at the Wolf and in South Texas beginning this weekend. We will get into all of that coming up in moments. Your salty shakedown. But first, how about this day in sports history? Okay, now Yolanda Bermea just wrote, and I digress here, Shannon. Tim Tebow has signed a 1-year deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is that breaking news, or is Yolanda making that up?
We'll
find out
that for you. Here.
We could have big Tebow news. Hey, see, I said it was the dark ages, Shannon, and you said the NFL never sleeps. The only thing that might bring me out of my Spurs losing season-ending funk, and I've got to enunciate that word, could be some Tebow news.
We do have an official word from Adam Schefter.
Yes.
And a mocked photo of Tebow in a Jaguars uniform.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Tebow's back, baby. Tebow mania. During the break, I'm going to get on one knee and I'm going to Tebow in honor of his signing a 1-year contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, here we go. And Don is saying, no, he signed a few weeks ago. No, it wasn't official until today, Don. Thank you. Just saying. All right. This day in sports history, this day in 1920, Policemen raid the Cubs bleachers. They go into the bleachers at Wrigley Field and arrest 24 fans for gambling. These fans were gambling at Wrigley, so the cops go into the stands and arrest baseball fans for gambling at a baseball game. It's crazy. That would never happen in St. Louis, Dave Baylor.
If you're gonna do it.
That's true.
Where was Pete Rose when all that was going
Good
on?
question. Young Pete Rose,
Back,
probably.
signing checks.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. This day in 1964, Buster Mathis beats future world heavyweight champion Joe Frazier on points at the Olympic trials in Flushing, New York to qualify for the U.S. Olympic boxing team, but he injured his thumb. So Buster Mathis couldn't be on the Olympic team. He was replaced by Joe Frazier, the guy who he beat. Joe Frazier goes on to win the Olympic gold medal and has a great career in boxing. And Buster Mathis, just kind of a footnote in history.
Do you need thumbs to box?
I would think so. I imagine if you broke it, that would kind of hurt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, just wrap it up, spit on it, and get back in there. I think what they should do. Finally, this day in sports history, former Longhorn and at the time Boston Red Sox Roger Clemens gets his first major league win as a pitcher as the Red Sox beat the Minnesota Twins 5-4. So May 20th, 1984, a big day for Roger Clemens. That's sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1927, Harold Bud Grant, longtime coach, and I believe original coach of the Minnesota Vikings back in the Tom Landry days. That Hail Mary pass that Roger threw to Drew on the Cowboys sidelines was Tom Landry. Across the field, the head coach of the Vikings was Bud Grant. Bud Grant, born on this day in 1927 in Winnipeg, Minnesota. You thought Winnipeg was in Canada, but they've got one in Minnesota apparently as well. Born on this day in 1963, American baseball pitcher David Wells. He threw a perfect game back in 1998. Corey Kluber was a walk away from throwing a perfect game last night in Arlington. David Wells, a World Series champion in 92 and 98. Major League Baseball All-Star in 95, 98, and 2000. David Wells was born in Torrance, California. And finally, born on this day in 1971, American race car driver Tony Stewart. We don't talk enough racing or NASCAR on this show. We'll do that again soon. Somebody was asking about Dawn Bartlett Hall, who's our NASCAR Track Smack correspondent. We'll get her back. Talk about some racing soon with Indy 500 coming up and a whole bunch of NASCAR. That's sports history. That's sports birthdays. And now it is time. You have waited for it, and the sports dark ages cannot stop it. Here it is, your salty shakedown.
With so much Dan Campbell in the news for the Detroit Lions, it's now been released that Matt Campbell, coach of the Iowa State Cyclones, who is also a popular name roaming around to maybe be offered the Texas gig earlier this year. Apparently, he was actually offered the Detroit Lions gig.
Wow.
For an 8-year, $68.5 million contract and supposedly even full control, which is interesting because when Dan got the job, he was joking that he was telling people that he was actually Matt Campbell. And only after he got the job did he reveal that he was, in fact, Dan Campbell. I find this interesting because this dude turned it down. I understand the Lions are a fire, a mess. Yep. You're probably not going to last all the 8 years, but depending on how that contract is laid out, it might be nice to get fired and be sent on your way with millions of extra dollars in your pocket for not having to live there for 8 years. Because I don't know what he's getting paid now at Iowa State, but it certainly isn't $68.5 million. I believe he does have a pretty long contract there, though. But it's just interesting to me that his name has jumped so high in the ranks of who should be next, who should be the next guy, either in the NFL or in the college football coaching world, who will take over the scene. I mean, they've done okay with the Cyclones, but I mean, it's still Oklahoma, Texas in the Big 12.
Yep.
Even before Iowa State, every now and then you get Baylor jumping up in there. You get a TCU jumping up in there. So I don't really understand it. other than that, I guess he's just a really likable guy, and he has done some good things with the program, especially a program that has kind of had this quarterback cycle these past couple of years, not really always knowing who their guy's going to be. Chris, if you were offered that contract to go to the Lions, and you already had a job that you liked where you lived, but you weren't locked in for that many years, and you certainly weren't making that amount of money, would you take it?
Well, and it's fascinating, Shannon. And you think about Matt Campbell, Detroit, we talk about it a lot, just historically bad, poorly run franchise, depressed city economically. If you're Matt Campbell, do you, even though that's a lot of jack, do you take that money and maybe tarnish your reputation? Or if you're Matt Campbell's agent, are you saying, dude, you see what the Lions are going to pay you, just wait. You know, that Cowboys job could open up in a year if Mike McCarthy sucks, or you know, we can get, you know, the Atlanta Falcons job just opened up. You know, I'd much rather work for Arthur Blanks of the Falcons, or even crazy Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, than go to Detroit. So I think it's fascinating that he passed on 8 years, $68.5 million. So to answer your question, if I do it, if I felt that I was really one of the best coaches in America, I'd wait also and pick a better team, because history tells you are going to fail miserably as the head coach of the Detroit Lions.
Well, if he's already getting this pub, if I'm a Cyclone fan, I'm a little worried about our future with Matt Campbell, because he seems like a pretty popular guy and could get pulled up to the NFL or even to a different college program. All right.
Ooh.
This happened on Monday, and I want to talk about it now because we've got a little bit of an update. But Kevin Pillar of the Mets took a 94-mile-per-hour fastball to the face at the plate against pitcher Jacob Webb of the Atlanta Braves. It did not look pretty. For those that haven't seen the video, if you're not good with blood, don't, because
Lots
it
of blood
immediately started flowing.
Mm.
He went to the hospital immediately, had a CT scan. He's obviously got a ton of fractures in his nose. He returned on Tuesday and spoke, and this is what he had to say about the incident.
Scenario, I can't speak about all his scenarios, but I know this guy didn't want to hit me. I know he didn't want to hit me in the face. The bases were loaded, and it was a 1-0 game, and accidents do happen. So, you know, in that regard, there's, you know, I know he feels bad. I know me and him have talked last night, today, and I'm almost more worried about him than I am myself, because I know I saw his reaction, and I know how tough that could be on someone who feels, you know, responsible for someone getting injured, how he feels. And I just tried to relay that message to him, that, you know, I know that it was unintentional, and he needs to continue to be confident and believe in himself and his stuff, and that I'll be fine.
I mean, Kevin Pillar seems unfazed, and listening to that, if you didn't know that he had just taken a fastball to the nose, you'd think, man, he's got a really bad cold. But dude's nose is crooked, it's blown up, there's tons of stitches. His face, I mean, it looks like he's also been punched in the eyes a couple times. It is scary. You don't really think of baseball as much of a contact sport, but every now and again, batters do get hit, and every now and again they get hit in the face. And I mean, I think he's right. I kind of feel bad for Jacob Webb, because he didn't mean to do it, but there's a chance that he could face other teams that think that he did mean to do it and come after him, similar to how we see people reacting to the Astros and their cheating. So good on Kevin Pillar for making that statement, and you know, a speedy recovery for something like that. I mean, he looks like a very handsome fellow prior to the deconstruction that's happened on his face. I hope he gets that back, and like to breathe. I mean, I know you just had some you had a balloon
sinuplasty.
Yes. And so I mean, it's like you're living a whole new world.
Yes.
And now he is probably going to have about 8 of those just so he can breathe normally again.
Well, and you talked about his broken nose, and I even read like he had sinus, you know, the sinuses in his nose, you know, the nasal pad, those were damaged. So I mean, exactly what you're saying when you hear him speak, it's like the dude's nose has just been wrecked by a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, he's going to need reconstructive nose surgery. And I would recommend to Kevin Pillar the sinus and snoring specialists in Austin because they rock. So I'm just saying.
No wonder we're getting no hitters. People,
I'm just saying.
You can't hit the ball when it's hitting you in the face. That's all I've got to say about that. All right, finally today, a little bit of a happy story here. Our guy Shaq of the TNT broadcast crew.
Shaq!
There was a story a couple months back about him kind of nonchalantly buying an engagement ring for a fella that he saw while he was buying himself some hoop earrings. An onlooker videoed it, so that's why it got out, but he did it all in silence. Well, another guy who moves in silence is his good buddy, Charles Barkley, a.k.a. Chuck, who it was recently announced via Twitter of his old high school that he, during the pandemic, actually donated $1,000 to each employee of his former high school. That's 226 employees. Not only did he do that, but he also donated laptops and Wi-Fi stations for the students to be able to complete their work and get through this, what is a school year I'm hoping no one ever has to repeat ever again, because I can't imagine being in school during a time like this. On top of that, they said he has also quietly donated $3 million to his alma mater for scholarships throughout his time as an NBA player and now as a broadcaster. So I just think this is excellent by Charles Barkley. Again, he moves in silence and he's doing great things, and he's taking care of a place that took care of him for his youth. And I just think it's fantastic. We give Shaq a lot of love because he's larger than life. A lot of times he does things in public. It's hard to miss Shaq. You're going to video it. You're going to picture it. It's going to be talked about. But Chuck quietly donating back to his high school is pretty fantastic, if you ask me.
Charles Barkley, we talk about him, Shannon, and we talk a lot about that panel on TNT, which is the greatest sports panel ever. Ernie Johnson, Shaq, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley. And I just think of Charles Barkley, just such a brilliant, unique analyst, just pulls no punches, great sense of humor, self-deprecating. You can make fun of him, doesn't take himself seriously, yet sometimes gets serious and angry.
Yes.
Good on you, Charles Barkley. And I will say, and he's funny. It's an ongoing thing. I don't know if you know about this in Austin, Shannon. Every time he comes to San Antonio, he dogs the city and he dogs the women because he knows it drives us crazy in San Antonio. He says, "Oh, those women on the Riverwalk, they're eating too many churros down in San." And San Antonio men and women flip out on Charles, but he's trolling. It's actually, yeah. And here he is, a fat guy making fun of the weight of women in San Antonio. So it is ironic, don't you think, Alanis Morissette? So, but I love him anyway. I get it.
I love his current, I don't know what the commercials are actually for, but he's in a golf simulator, and everyone knows like he plays golf a lot, but he just has the worst stroke in history. And in these pro-ams, he's just so fun to watch. So yeah, he's a very self-deprecating guy and does a lot of good behind the scenes. Therein concludes today's Salty Shakedown. While we still have time, I want to mention Sam Ellinger because he did sign officially with the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. He got a 4-year deal worth $3.61 million with $130,708 at signing. Congratulations to you, sir. We're all very excited for this next chapter. We've all been thinking about you these past few weeks. And so it's nice that there's a little bit of light coming back into the life of the Ellinger family.
Yeah, and I'm sure 90% of the people listening know. But for the 10% of you who don't, Sam Ellinger, who is a great guy, long time, the most recent quarterback of the Texas Longhorns. His family suffered the tragedy of losing his dad while running, I believe, it was a triathlon. Yeah.
From Alcatraz, I think.
Yeah. So then he lost his brother, who also played at Texas just a number of weeks ago. So at a joyous moment when he was being drafted into the NFL, more personal tragedy in his family. So God love him. And I agree with you, Shannon. We wish all the best for Sam Ellinger and a $3.61 million payday. Well-deserved. He worked his butt off at Texas. Want to see him succeed. And again, I just want to give props again. I love our listeners and our viewers on Facebook Live, and it just happened during that segment, Shannon. They often act as producers of the show. You and I are doing what we do. We're in the middle of a segment, and it was Yolanda Bermea who broke the news to us on Facebook Live. Hey, Tebow just signed a 1-year deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So our honorary producer of the morning is Yolanda Bermea for breaking that news to us on Facebook Live. So then Shannon ran it down, confirmed it, and now we know Tebow. And he's going to go to the facility today, Shannon. He's going to work out and start training. And we now know God has a favorite tight end. We know who he is.
I'm curious if we're going to actually hear from Tebow or get any sort of comment, any picture, something from him.
I want it.
Out of all this, we still haven't heard from the man himself. I need something.
I do too.
Say something.
Oh, man. And now Tanner Carlson's going to walk in. He's probably beating his head against the wall.
That's too bad for him. We're talking golf today.
Exactly. Tanner, he hates Tebow.
If he brings up football at all.
Stop hating on Tebow, Tanner Carlson. We talk golf with Tanner and Andy Everett. We dive into the PGA Championship and pick the winner next on the Chris Duel Show. Thank you, Chris, on the pillar pronunciation. Pillar sounds more exotic, but I will assume that you say pillar and you speak from knowledge and experience. Okay, I got to quickly find me some PGA Championship golfers. Draft. There it is. Expert predictions. God, I love the internet. Well, a star who definitely won't win is Dustin Johnson. Interesting. Okay, what's going on there? Mute that site.
Hey, Chris, is Andy going to be on the phone?
He's going to have to do both because, we wouldn't, if he just did StreamYard, we wouldn't hear him over the air. So
if he has access, if he connects via his access like he does when.
Shannon is talking about that right now. Hang on, Shannon. I'm so loud in here. What are you saying about access, Shannon?
If he connects via his access like he does when he calls in, like when you're out, if he does that way, it'll be best audio-wise because there won't be any delay or any feedback.
Okay. I don't know if you heard that, Dave. If you could call him and tell him if he connects via his access, there won't be delay or feedback. It'll be the best audio for radio, and he could do StreamYard at the same time. So if there's a way to...
If you don't have time, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd go ahead and call him now, see if you can get that information to him. Thank you. Sorry to throw you a curveball. Okay.
We do have a Tebow quote from the Jaguars.
God, I hope we get a press conference.
He's practicing today, so I don't know if they have media out there, but
I would imagine if they let him in, they're coming with that news.
yeah. He said, I want to thank the Jaguars for the opportunity to compete and earn the chance to be part of this team. I know it will be a challenge, but it is a challenge I embrace. I'm dedicated to taking the direction of our coaching staff and learning from my teammates. I appreciate everyone's support as I embark on this new journey.
Nice.
Very diplomatic of him.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks for doing that. How dare he sleep into 7:40? Slacker. Wes Perkins. And by the way, Wes, great phone call, sir. Wes says Tebow and Gronk in the same state. Celebrities both. Yeah, and then in a perfect world, well, perfect would be the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl. But in a perfect world, Jaguars versus Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. And as I mentioned, fourth quarter, Trevor Lawrence goes down. Jaguars are down by 4. Tebow has to lead the team 80 yards down the field at quarterback, mainly running the football, dropping back and running, dragging tacklers with him as he fights for first down yardage all the way down the field, moving the chains. Here he is. We have decided we're going to do a I'll move that. We're going to do a 3 golfer snake draft.
Okay. With Andy. So here, I'll just grab. I forgot about that. Sorry. Okay. So you're gonna throw this on me last minute.
I know.
So I'll lose this time. That's your whole
strategy. Well, but no, you're such a golf guy. You can name 3 winners off the top of your head.
You know, I could. I needed to do a little bit of homework.
You got 3 minutes, and you got during the segment.
You know, it's a little unfair because I've already teed off. So some guys are already ahead of the.
So you can look that up then. You can.
I'll go ahead.
Bubba Watson's playing well early.
Yeah. So
your leader is Cameron.
I think
Triangle is that?
Or
Okay. Zach Johnson.
But yeah,
2 under.
And, Fowler, Ricky's up there too. Early.
Jimmy Dynamite Walker is up high. John Daly at 1 over, tied for 35th.
John Daly sighting. A wild John Daly has entered the chat.
Hideki Matsuyama. Oh, he hasn't teed off yet. Okay. I might go Hideki just because he's on a roll. So I told Shannon, now that my Spurs are out of it, I now pledge my Texas allegiance to the Dallas Mavericks. A, they're from Dallas. B, they've got Boban. And C, I can't stand Kawhi Leonard. And I want to see him ejected in the first round.
You might win more money or have a better chance of winning a bet on Luka getting kicked out or ejected from a game.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll be on his best behavior now that
We need him to be.
now that it's a thing.
They need him to be for sure. If they're gonna have any chance at. Ooh. So is Andy joining us?
Yes, and hopefully on StreamYard.
Okay.
We've asked him to do it that way. We'll see if it works. And you did see the breaking news. Tim Tebow signs his contract this morning.
Breaking news. Just
I'm waiting for the press conference.
groundbreaking.
In fact, if we may have to interrupt this segment. If the press conference happens, we'll go live.
Are they?
To the
Are they seriously?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say.
But
are they
I
really doing a
I would
presser
if
for
they
it?
were doing one, I would love to go live to the team. Just blow out old programming and commercials
Yeah.
for the Tim Tebow press conference.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yolanda. And by the way, Yolanda, thank you for letting us know. Here we come. Wow. I don't see Andy yet. Is Andy on Access ready? Oh, cool. Cool. All right. Andy's working on StreamYard apparently. And there he is. No, he's not. That's Dave. Okay.
Now, Chris Duel.
What a Thursday. Yeah, Spurs fans like me, we're bummed out because the Spurs season came to an end last night at the hands of the Memphis Grizzlies. But life goes on and the world of sports moves on, and there are golfers already on the course in South Carolina at the PGA Championship. So we have convened a roundtable of the finest golf fans and experts and analysts to talk about the PGA Championship, led by Andy Everett, our resident golf guru and host of the golf show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio, 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings. He's also the voice of UTSA Athletics. Birds up, very nice. Andy Everett, are you on board with us? Great, you sound great. And Andy, we couldn't do this without Tanner Carlson, who is a hardcore golf guy. And Tanner, you have expressed the desire to play golf with Andy Everett.
Yeah,
Have you set that up? When's that going to happen?
I haven't set anything up. We could set it up right here on the show or after the show, but I'm ready to go. Any weekend that you're ready, I'm ready.
Sure.
I don't know of any courses around here. I've played one course in San Antonio since I've been here. So it was the Wolf Creek or something. It was around, actually somewhat in the Stone Oak area, kind of. So I'm not 100%. I can't even remember what the actual name of it. Yeah, something Creek, something Silver Creek, something Creek, maybe Cedar Creek. Maybe that was the one. Yeah.
So you can go to any golf course.
Creeks. I knew there was a creek involved.
You go to any golf course in South Texas, you drop the name Andy Everett, and you'll be treated like a king. So, Andy, PGA Championship, it is underway. Jimmy Walker, close to the leaderboard, local favorite Jimmy Walker. What do you think will be special? What will be some of the storylines this weekend in the PGA Championship?
Will react to its length, and they're discussing that this is going to be somewhere in the 7,800 yard range if they decide to tip it out. Typically, the staffs that set these golf courses up, the first thing they do is check the wind and check the weather and make sure that it's fair to set it up that long. And even if you're not a long hitter, there's going to be some holes where even the longest hitter, even Bryson DeChambeau, can't reach a par 5 and 2. So it's still it's a 3-shot hole for everyone, and he may lay up with a 6-iron, and the other guy may lay up with a hybrid or something. They're all going to have the same shot into a green. I'm pretty critical of the way golf courses are set up, and I've had this discussion. Finally, this past year, the Valero Texas Open did something that they really hadn't done a lot of in the past, and I think it's critical, especially on holes on par fives. I think 2 good shots should be rewarded with an opportunity to be on the green in 2. And too many of these golf courses are setting these holes up so long that even the longest hitters find it more beneficial for them to lay up. David Ogren, who won the Texas Open back in 1996, one time told me, this is probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and he said, if you're on a par 5 and you're less than 240 yards, it's always the go zone. But if you're more than 240 yards, then more often than not, you're going to lay up. The statistics and the law of averages weigh in that you're going to make birdie more often that way. And so I think that number may be 260 now, especially for some of the longer hitters. But I'm not sure that that's my biggest part about par 5. So I hope they get the par 5s to a point to where they're birdieable, they're reachable in 2 for most of the field. But I think how long this golf course is going to play is going to be one thing that we'll all look into.
Andy, when I heard how long this golf course was, my first thought was maybe this is an opportunity. You mentioned his name for Bryson DeChambeau to really, really shine. Yet, and I think I've heard you, and I know Shannon has said not necessarily. He's a little bit too erratic. Obviously, his putting has been in question. How do you think this course will treat Bryson DeChambeau?
Well, we talk about his prestigious length, and that's unbelievably good. I'm obviously he hits the ball as far as anybody else, but he doesn't hit it that much further than Rory McIlroy or Dustin Johnson. That's a little bit further, but not a lot. The key to any golf tournament that's ever been won is how well did you putt, chip, and how was your short game. And you look at Bryson when he won the U.S. Open last year, he wasn't the longest hitter in the field. There were 4 or 5 guys that averaged more than he did. But his proximity to the hole was closer than everybody else's. His putting was great. His greens to regulation were great. And so he can hit it as far as he wants. But if he's not doing the other things, he's not going to win.
Now, Andy, Hideki Matsuyama, of course, the Masters champion, now heading into the PGA Championship. Everyone loves to pick the hot hand, but I have to imagine that he's got a weight on his shoulders like he's never known before after becoming a hero to an entire country after winning that Masters Championship.
At number 1, but also number 2, he hasn't played a lot of golf.
You want to jump in next for Andy?
Byron Nelson.
You want to go next?
And that was the first time he's played in a month. He went back to Japan, and he had to sit in a hotel room for 12 days in order to quarantine to make sure he didn't have COVID. And then he got a grand royal tour of Japan with all the leaders of Japan, and was presented Japan's basically their version of the Medal of Freedom, and had a bunch of public things to do, and got to see his family, and then hopped on a plane and came back, and didn't play at Quail Hollow 2 weeks ago. And then just basically got back into competition this past week. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays well, but I'm not counting on him winning this golf tournament. I think he's got some rust to shake off as well.
Andy, what about some of these bigger names that we have become so accustomed to hearing? We've been talking about DeChambeau, but guys have kind of been struggling recently, especially guys like Rory, although he is coming off a fairly recent win. I know Koepka, he's been hurt. He didn't necessarily show up. He tried to show up and put in a valiant effort in the Masters. But what have you heard about some of these bigger names that people might be more recognizable when they're turning on their TVs this weekend?
I think Koepka's still got a lot of rust to work out, too, because he hasn't played a lot of golf coming back from injuries. And the knee injury, he says, is 100% better than it was Augusta a month ago. So that's a good thing. I really like Rory McIlroy's chances here as long as he's dialed in with his irons. And I've made this comment 1,000 times over his career. When Rory McIlroy's wedge game is as good as his driving game, he's the best player in the world. But too often, his wedge game isn't as good as the rest of the guys' 5 and 6 and 7 iron game. And if you go back to 2019 at the Tour Championship, when he and Tiger Woods were in the last group and Tiger won that tournament, Tiger was hitting 8 iron, 7 iron, 9 iron into greens, and Rory was hitting wedges and sand wedges, and Tiger was closer. And that shouldn't happen for any professional golfer, any decent golfer, period. And it did. And he had no control over those short clubs. And if he does not have control over those short clubs, he has no chance to win. If he does have control over those clubs, I think he's the best player on tour.
He's Andy Everett talking PGA Championship with Tanner Carlson, Shannon Sweeney, and me. Andy, before we talk about who you think will win this tournament, we're going to do a 3-player snake draft, which we haven't told you about yet. So we're just going to, you're the golf expert, so we're just going to spring it on you. But I'm looking at the early leaderboard, and with a 1-stroke lead at 3 under par through 7, Cameron Tringale. I don't know this guy. Do you know Cameron? What do we know about Cameron? Tringale. I was close.
That was my next guess.
He was in the lead for a while at the Texas Open this year. And then Jordan and some others moved ahead of him. I think he finished 3rd or 4th overall.
You have another question?
He's been on the tour for about 12 years, I think. He's never won. He's one of these guys that I think everybody should envy. He's a multimillionaire who plays golf as often as he wants, and nobody knows who he is, so he can live in relative obscurity. No, he's a good player and usually plays well early, and most people think that he is going to have a really good career. How much he wins, we don't know, but he's been out there now quite a while without a win.
So I got a new golfer to follow, Cameron Tringale, and I'm learning how to pronounce his name. Now, in a moment, Andy, we're gonna go a little snake draft. We're each gonna draft 3 golfers, and at the end of the weekend, we'll add up the scores and see who did the best, and we'll see who picked the winner, if any of us can pick the winner. But if you had to right now say, somebody gave you $1,000 and said, Andy, put this on one golfer using what you know about golf, what you know about this golf course. If you had to pick one winner, who would it be?
Ask me to give away who I'm going to draft.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's reverse that. Why don't we do the draft? We'll get the draft out of the way, and then we'll see if someone else accidentally picked your winner, and then we'll move into winners and some discussion on who might win this thing. So you're right, that would be unfair unless we say that whoever you mentioned here, none of us can draft. But we'll do it. We'll just go ahead and draft right now. We're gonna do like a snake draft. Shannon, how should we handicap this? Andy, obviously the mega expert. You and Tanner, very big golf fans, and me, kind of the dope here. So
it sounds like you're vying for the first.
No, but
no.
I will.
I agree. I say Chris first, me second, and Tanner third, based on how it went down last time.
That's a good point.
That works.
Andy,
that works.
I totally sucked last time.
I did win in our last draft, so I'll accept the final. I'll do last pick.
That's okay. So all right. So So I get to start. I'm hoping none of you pick Bryson DeChambeau as your first player. I'm hoping to get him in the second round.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go. Shannon mentioned him, Hideki Matsuyama. He's on a roll. I'm going with Hideki for the nation of Japan. I take Hideki Matsuyama. So that's me. So who is it? Shannon or Tanner next?
It's me.
It's you. Okay.
Came in second. I had to change my profile picture.
Okay.
I'm gonna go hometown favorite Jordan Spieth. He's been looking pretty good, and he's known to show up during majors. Jordan Spieth goes second.
Yeah.
See, when Andy likes your pick, you notice Andy didn't say mine was a good pick.
Your pick, yeah.
Like, Chris is such an idiot. I can't believe he picked Hideki. All right, Tanner Carlson. Andy, no pressure, but Tanner is our defending golf draft champion on this show. Tanner, what do you got?
I'm gonna go Tony Finau. I think it's his time. I think it's past his time to finally get a win. He's been second, third, fourth, fifth for like every single tournament this season. I think it's time he gets over that hump and gets a win.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for, an expert is going to make a pick. Andy Everett.
Yeah, this and $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks too. But Rory McIlroy is my pick, and I'll take him.
Now, earlier when you were going to pick a winner, was it going to be Rory or okay? So you didn't miss out on who you wanted. Okay. Since it's a snake draft, Andy, we snake back. Not only do you have the 4th pick, you get the 5th pick.
Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas. He gets 2 in a row that he likes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's going to take me a little bit of time to think about who I like, because that was going to be my next guy right there.
You're gonna go Scheffler.
No. I like. You know what? Why not? I'm gonna go for it. Why not? I'm gonna go Ricky. I don't know why, but I've always rooted for the guy, so I'm gonna go Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler got him down. Shannon, your second pick, number 7 overall.
All right, I've in past drafts, I've always taken this guy, and then I didn't take him for the Masters, and he showed up to play. So I'm not going to disrespect him again. Justin Rose.
Justin Rose.
Oh yeah, it's a good pick.
Now I could wait, since I go back to back now, I could wait for the number 9 pick to pick Bryson DeChambeau, but I want to pick him now because I got everybody saying, yeah, you can hit the long ball, but you just don't, you have no finesse and you can't putt. And I have a feeling, and I know nothing about golf, obviously, but I have a feeling Bryson DeChambeau is going to make a lot of noise in this tournament. So with the 8th pick, my second round pick, Bryson DeChambeau, it snakes around. So I pick number 9, and I'm going to go. Do I want to do? Yeah, I'm going to go this because why not? And he's actually, I saw him. He's early on. He's playing well after a couple of holes. South Texas's very own Jimmy JJ Dynamite Walker. I'm going with Jimmy Walker.
All right.
So there's me at 9. So we go now. It is Shannon with her third and final golfer drafted.
Well, Tanner took my third pick, Mr. Tony Finau. So now I'm looking at my number 4, number 5 guys, and I'm treating this like I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Do you need a lifeline?
Andy can be your lifeline.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I'm gonna go with my 5 guy. I'm gonna go John Rahm.
Wow, you liked him from Austin too, when at match play.
Yeah,
as I recall.
John Rahm.
John Rahm. And now, Tanner, your final pick, number 11 overall, to win the PGA Championship.
The guy with the best hair in the business. I'm going to go Cameron Smith. I think he's been playing very well recently, and I'm going to go with the mullet, the mustache, the whole works, everything. I want it all. I'm going Cameron Smith.
Very beautiful. And now, finally, Andy Everett with the final pick.
Pains for me to pick a Texas guy. I am going to take Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, I actually I was on the balance. I was balancing between the two. Do I go with the UT guy, which would have been extremely predictable for me, or go off the rails a little bit? I went off the rails.
Fortunately, I don't know if there's any OU guys in the field, so I'll go with Scheffler.
However, you mentioned OU. I believe they're advancing in the NCAA tournament. Am I right there, Andy?
Is I think it's the top 4 players individually in college golf this year get automatic exemptions into the Korn Ferry Tour next year, which is kind of the minor leagues of the PGA Tour, if you will. So they're a pretty good team, and they've won a bunch of events so far this year.
So, Andy Everett, looking at your picks, again, your first pick was Rory McIlroy. Then you went with Justin Thomas. You just went with Scotty Scheffler. Those 3 guys, in addition to anybody else who was picked, who else do you see as a possible breakthrough?
Our worst pick, I think, is Daniel Berger. This is a guy that's played a lot of really good golf for a couple of years. Not a lot of people know who he is, another kind of obscure player. He won last year right out of the gate when they restarted everything at Colonial. He made a good run at the Byron Nelson last week. And I think the other story, obviously, and Shannon picked Jordan Spieth. If he wins, he joins Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan, Gene Sarazen, and Gary Player as the 6th player to win the Grand Slam.
Wow.
You look at all the great players. Phil Mickelson's never won a U.S. Open. Arnold Palmer never won a PGA. Sam Snead never won a U.S. Open. Tom Watson never won a PGA. So there's so many Hall of Fame great players that have never won the all 4 majors, and that just shows how hard it is. And Phil hasn't won a U.S. Open, or he'd be there. Jordan Spieth hasn't won a PGA. He still has years left in his career. and Rory's still searching for an elusive Masters after 10 or 12 tries. So Jordan Spieth has a chance to join that exclusive club this week if he wins.
So, Andy, I would imagine on your show, the golf show, Saturday, 8 o'clock on Ticket 760, I imagine there'll be a little bit of PGA Championship talk.
There will be. We'll talk a lot of PGA, and I think the golf course will be a part of that that discussion as well, how it plays the first 2 days. The PGA won't do what the USGA has done in the past and make it unfair. I remember a couple of years ago when the U.S. Open was at Shinnecock, they tried to put the golf course on its edge, and the U.S. Open has this infatuation with nobody breaking par, and these golfers are really, really good, and they're going to break par. The PGA doesn't care what the score is as long as it's a fair and true test for everyone, and I suspect the winning score will be somewhere between 10 and 12 under. Most regular tour golf events, the winning score is around 18 to 20. The U.S. Open's usually around par, and the other majors are usually somewhere in the middle, and that's kind of where I expect this to be.
Again, 8 o'clock Saturday morning. If you're in San Antonio, Ticket 760. Even if you're not in San Antonio, you can find Andy Everett and his golf show on the iHeartRadio app as well. Andy Everett, thank you so much. And Tanner Carlson on Twitter at Tanner Carlson20. We will see you and Andy out on the golf course someday soon.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I need to learn.
Yeah, I'll come and video and drink. I'll drink beer and video, you guys.
I'll be the hecklers while I also get a golf lesson on the side, and then I can play a full round.
What other reason is there? What other reason is there to go to a golf course other than to drink, hang out with your buddies, and make fun of each other's golf swing? I mean, there's really no other, and get a little bit of a tan.
We got to force him.
Yeah,
we got to. Yeah, Andy will never be the same. Andy will say, "I'm never playing with these people again."
The most fun he had, or the worst time of his life.
Right, exactly.
His worst nightmare. Andy Everett, Tanner Carlson, outstanding, and best of luck in the draft. And we will.
Are there any punishments? Are we just doing? Is this all for pride?
We got to figure that out.
Okay.
We'll work on punishments over the week on social media. We'll work on punishments. Tanner Carlson, Andy Everett. Quick break coming up. Dave Gasaway, the general manager of the San Antonio Missions. A lot of fun baseball action coming to San Antonio and the Wolf. Don't go anywhere. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. That was fun.
I don't even know who I got. So I had Finau.
You had
Finau, Fowler,
and I'll try to print this where it's legible. You had Finau, Ricky Fowler, and Cameron Smith.
Fowler currently in the top 10, actually tied for second, shooting 2 under.
Nice.
Totally forgot about it. Okay, yeah, thank you.
I'll play Cord coming back. So you can just...
Yeah, we'll just do it out of the gate. Okay, thanks.
All right, man. I will see you tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
But, yeah, we'll keep in touch, and then I guess for a punishment.
That would be, yeah. I just, and we just ran out of time there should have thought of that, but okay. So Shannon, you said Fowler's already in contention or early on?
Yeah.
Cool.
But Rory, still a lot of field left to start, but he's already 1 over.
I would start Mobile. Originally it was him calling us, and then I told JC Carpenter, I said, can we have it? So he may still call us if you give him a little time.
I'll wait another 5 minutes or so.
Okay. I got to pull up. You give him a. All right. I'll be right back. Now, is that Dave, even though it says Burl Yarborough on the phone?
Yeah, that's Dave.
It is Dave. Okay. I know Burl is involved. So,
Yeah, I think he's the general manager. Or something.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Burl's- And he called us early.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, which was nice.
And he was okay with waiting?
Yeah, I go, you want me to call you back? We're about 6 months away. It's not.
Louisa McConaughey is going to be the Grand Marshal.
Oh, cool. So, Shannon, can you hear me?
Yeah.
On this, I'm gonna normally I'm looking at you for a cue with a guest. I don't have a hard copy. Well, maybe I can make it 2 windows, but so I may not be looking. So I'm gonna assume that we're gonna tag team, and after I ask a question, I'm gonna assume that you're going to.
Okay.
Because normally I'm looking at you for a cue, but I didn't print this this talking points list, so I'm gonna be looking at another window. I'm gonna be going back and forth. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're doing the corn giveaway here. Okay. We're going to do the corn giveaway first, Shannon. So we'll do that before we go to Dave. But anyway, I'm going to go back and forth. But I'm going to assume after each, we're going to go back and forth with him. I'll ask one, you ask one, and we'll just see how it goes. It'll work.
Depending on how much he talks, we may only get
True.
4 in.
Yeah. And gosh, where did I put? Yeah, I should have printed a hard copy of this. It would have made my life a lot easier. I was having a Spurs hangover and then the Laker game last night, and I forgot to print this. Okay. First homestand of the season is underway this Thursday. First Thursday game. They're going to be the Flying Chonklas tonight. Okay. And I think he goes by Dave. I know I listed him as David, but I think I've seen him referred to as Dave quite a bit. Welcome back. It is the Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler, is that Corn or Stained that you are playing for us? That's Corn. I'm going to get hip someday. In just a moment, Dave Gasaway, the general manager of the San Antonio Missions, they began a homestand this week. Tonight's a big night for the Missions, or should I say Flying Chonklas. We'll get to Dave in just a moment. But Shannon, I got so caught up in our PGA Championship draft that I forgot to ask you about the corn tickets and the big event. So we're going to give those away right now.
Yes, sir. Caller number 5, 1-800-707-9760 will be heading to Germania Insurance Amphitheater out at Coda in Austin, September 18th. It is a Saturday, so a great day to get out to one of the greatest venues in Austin to check out live music, Corn and Stained. Caller number 5 right now, 1-800-707-9760.
Caller number 5. Hope you win those tickets. Baseball fans, this is a big week in San Antonio and South Texas as the San Antonio Missions have begun their first homestand of the season. On the phone line, we've got the general manager of the San Antonio Missions, Dave Gasaway. Dave, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing much better now that baseball's back, Chris.
Absolutely. And, Dave, my goodness, last year, COVID, especially for minor league baseball, it was just an absolute nightmare. How did you keep, how did you guys as an organization make it through 2020? And has anything changed about, the way you guys put the product out there on the field for 2021?
Yeah, it was really difficult. We were coming off a great 2019 season, and we were prepared for a great 2020. And 3 weeks before the season start, the rug gets pulled out from under us. No season, and just trying to survive as an organization was difficult. No games, no revenue. Our staff had to be reduced by about 70%. Just really difficult times, but. As things are getting better now and we're staffing back up, and really just kind of excited. We're opening this homestand in COVID protocols and 50% capacity, but now with the changes, starting our next homestand June 8th, we're at 100% capacity and no restrictions from Major League Baseball or from Texas or the city.
Heartbreaking for minor league teams not to get the opportunity to play last year. They play such an important role for major league teams, especially when you think of players who either are working to get their shot to move up in the majors or using it as a rehab. But can you talk about Corey Kluber last night and his incredible no-hitter? We saw on the Missions Twitter page that he is actually a former Missions standout.
Oh, we were so excited for that because, he came up with us and he was such a great pitcher, and he went on to having a wonderful, almost borderline Hall of Fame career with the Indians, and won a couple of Cy Youngs, and then really got hurt and wasn't able to pitch for the Rangers last couple of years, and it looked like his career was in jeopardy and almost going to be done. And then watching that last night, him pitch for the Yankees and just knowing what type of guy he is and what type of pitcher he was, so excited for him to be able to get his no-hitter. Just we're thrilled for him as an alumni of the Missions.
Dave Gasaway, the general manager of the San Antonio Missions. And Dave, what Shannon brought up, Corey Kluber with the no-hitter last night, that's exactly when I tell people, you go to a Missions game, or if you're up in Austin area, you go to a Round Rock Express game, get a scorecard, get a program, remember who you're seeing, because you are in many cases seeing future stars, and a guy like Corey Kluber, who has now written his name into the baseball history books. They'll now with that no hitter. David Cohn was the last guy to get one for the Yankees in '99. They're so rare, but that's one of the. I think what's so fun about Missions baseball is, first of all, at the Wolf, the atmosphere is just so much fun. You've got so much going on, not only on the field, but so much other entertainment for the whole family, for adults, for kids to enjoy. But you're also seeing a great brand of baseball and future stars of Major League Baseball.
Well, it's a great point, Chris, because, right now, one of the hottest guys in all of baseball is named Fernando Tatis Jr., who was with us in 2018, and everybody kind of knows him now. But they were able to watch him at the Wolf, and he was just a standout. And right now we have a player who was the number 6 pick overall in that 2018 draft, CJ Abrams, who is playing shortstop for us right now. He's going to be that next guy, that Corey Kluber, that Fernando Tatis Jr., that just, is a complete standout. And, we don't know how long we'll have him because he's so talented. He might be in the big leagues, at the end of the year this year, but CJ Abrams is the guy to come out and say, hey, I saw him while he was down in San Antonio.
You mentioned the Wolf, of course, the home of the Missions. It was just announced this week that they are expecting to go to full capacity later on this month. How exciting is that to not only be playing baseball again, but playing in front of fans and knowing that more fans are going to be able to come in the future to cheer on the team?
Oh, we're really excited about it. Number one, that it's now finally safe to be able to do that, but to be able to have the atmosphere of a full stadium, be able to do it. Really for, the excitement for our players that they feel, but also just to be able to provide that entertainment for the community opportunity that for, a year and a half we haven't been able to do. And we have so much fun out there that this is something that we're like, okay, we are at the light at the end of the tunnel, and so we're thankful that we've been able to make it through. And so now our job is to make everybody happy in San Antonio all summer long.
He is Dave Gasaway, the general manager of the San Antonio Missions. Yeah, and Dave, I love it. I love it that you guys, with this homestand, you're up and running this week. I love, as Shannon and you mentioned, coming up the next homestand full capacity, because to me, nothing is more quintessentially American, especially in the summertime, than baseball. And for us locally, to have gone to a large extent without baseball, without San Antonio Missions baseball now from last season, now over a year, it's just there's nothing like going out with the family, going out with the kids, enjoying a baseball game. It's outdoors. Coming out of this pandemic, we all learned that you're safer outdoors than you are indoors. Now, I mean, even Dr. Fauci saying, restrictions can be lifted. So many people now are fully vaccinated. I just think when we go to the Wolf and watch a Missions game this summer, not only are we having fun, but I just kind of see it as a celebration of who we are as Americans with the national pastime. Nothing better than a baseball game on a warm summer night in San Antonio.
No, you're absolutely right. We're thrilled now. We have a brand new partnership with iHeartRadio. You guys are our flagship station to broadcast our games of the Bowl, and you guys are presenting every Thursday night with us. Talk about American, where we have $2 hot dogs, $2 beer, $2 soda, presented by iHeart and Taco Bell, and so it's really excited. Make plans every Thursday night to come out to an iHeart game.
Well, you mentioned those promotions. I mean, that's one of the things I love the most about regional and minor league baseball is everything else that goes on, right? You're there for the great baseball atmosphere, and there's so much included in it. You mentioned the hot dogs and the Coke products and the beer that'll be on tap for tonight. But can you talk about the Flying Chanclas moniker a little bit? I mean, I'm up in Austin where we have the Round Rock Express, and they take on the Chupacabras every now and again. But I don't think there's anything better than the Flying Chanclas. I need a shirt. I need a hat. I need all the Flying Chanclas swag.
No, that was the one thing that kind of carried us through the pandemic, going 600 games with no baseball. Our Flying Chancla merchandise still was kind of flying out the door. But in 2018, when we minor league baseball was doing a big Hispanic fan initiative, we took on the alter ego of the Flying Chanclas and all that it means to this community. It's just been a lot of fun, and our fans have completely embraced it. And people all over the country, we get orders every day. From we've filled orders from all 50 states. We filled orders from different countries, and it's kind of a whole vibe out at the Wolf on Thursday nights. And so we encourage everybody to come out and experience it.
And tonight is Thursday night, so it is Flying Chancla night, and Thursday nights, as Dave mentions, we partner iHeartRadio partners with the San Antonio Missions. There are Taco Bell value nights presented by iHeartMedia. A whole lot going on at the games. So get on out there. Tonight would be a perfect night for it. The weather's beautiful. I hear the afternoon high is going to be in the mid 80s today. Should be beautiful weather tonight out at the Wolf. So get out there. And I just want to underscore, you did mention the radio broadcast, Dave. They will be on the Bull, which is 92.5 FM. So all your Missions games, home and away, on the Bull at 92.5 FM. And finally, Dave, you mentioned CJ Abrams, and I'm certainly going to keep an eye on him as the next great player to come out of San Antonio. I remember in the early 80s, when you guys were affiliated with the LA Dodgers, the games were out at VJ Keefe Field on the St. Mary's campus. I remember seeing Fernando Valenzuela in 81 and Steve Sachs, both of whom in 81 would be called up to the LA Dodgers, and it is amazing. I mean, it goes all the way back. Joe Morgan, who just passed away recently, Hall of Famer Joe Morgan, originally with the Colt 45s, and then his great years with the Cincinnati Reds. He's another guy who came through San Antonio. So, the guy to watch now, as you tell us, Dave, C.J. Abrams. We'll go out there, watch him, watch all of the missions. And we look forward to it, Dave. And as things develop throughout the season, we'd love to have you come back and talk baseball with us.
And again, we'll look forward to seeing you guys out at the wall.
Absolutely. Dave Gasaway, Missions General Manager. Thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. It's so much fun. Shannon, we talked, earlier, and it was you were out when we talked with the president of the Round Rock Express, and it's, both cities, San Antonio and Austin, just have such great minor league baseball opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And, you talked about, Round Rock and, Altuve, Correa. A lot of guys have come through there and rehabbed and all kinds of. Now I got a name to. I'm glad he told us about C.J. Abrams with the San Antonio Missions. We'll keep an eye on that guy.
I love, I was talking to him about the flying chanclas and how much I love that. I love that people were so into it that it helped lift them up during that 600 games. They went 600 games without playing. I mean, I can't, those players, for them to be back in action, I'm just so happy for them. And you're totally right. With Round Rock and San Antonio, I don't think we realize how lucky we have it with these minor league teams we have, and the atmosphere and quality of sport they provide, because you go to some minor league games elsewhere in the country. I mean, it's lower than a high school baseball game as far as quality and what you get in environment when you go out there. So definitely go out there for iHeart Night on Thursdays.
Yes.
$2 tacos, $2 beers. I'd be there.
You can't beat that.
Me $50 in gas to get there. The way prices are right now.
Well, and that's again the other thing. It's so affordable to go see a baseball game in San Antonio or Round Rock. So definitely do that. All right, Shannon, we made a lot of progress today. We did our draft, and to review your golfers. Let's see. You got Jordan Spieth, who could win a Grand Slam. You've got Justin Rose, and you've got John Rahm. Let's see. I got Hideki Matsuyama. I got Bryson DeChambeau and Jimmy Walker out of Boerne, Texas.
I love your commitment to Bryson.
You
went with him during the Masters, and
I know
he did you wrong.
I'm a complete idiot when it comes to golf and Bryson DeChambeau. We had a poll question today. The Spurs season has ended. I am very bummed out. But it is now time for us to hand out final grades to the San Antonio Spurs. We ask you that question in our poll question. Shannon, how's the voting going?
Overwhelmingly, people are voting at 61% for a C grade, which again, C is to get degrees. So it's okay. 7% saying B and 30% saying D or F. Nobody taking an A, which I think is fair.
30% of you.
You're going to be fair about it.
30% saying D or F. Come on.
Haters.
You got into the play-in.
Put that.
Yeah, you're haters. You aren't.
Even do that.
No, I gave a C, and I'm a Spurs homer. We all know this, but I'm as objective as I can be.
Yeah.
And my thanks to I'm clearly, and you can tell, Shannon, I love Greg Popovich. I love the whole organization. I love what the organization stands for. Bill Schoening, we have him on Wednesdays. What a great radio voice of the Spurs. 72 games plus one, including the play-in. So I thank you to everybody who works with the Spurs organization and Spurs fans for hanging in there with them. So we didn't talk about it, but we got, let's see, Indiana Pacers and Washington Wizards tonight. I'm assuming you're picking the Wizards.
I'm going to go Pacers. With
Whoa. I think Westbrook has to bounce back. I'll go
Pacers.
I'll go Wizards. Oh, and on social media, we'll figure out a punishment for the loser of our golf tournament, which will probably be me.
Congrats to Carlos on winning the corn tickets today.
Carlos!
Do it again one more time.
One more shot tomorrow. Great job, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Dave Ayler, you rock with your St. Louis Cardinals t-shirt.
And congrats to you for making it through the Spurs season.
Oh, God, yes. And for not drinking too heavily last night when they lost, because I had to work early in the morning.
That's what tonight's for.
Yeah, there you go. Andy Everett, Tanner Carlson, thanks to them as well. Let's do this again in 21 hours. Have yourself a great Thursday. Woo!